Premier, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me on.
We'll get to the cruel business of politics shortly, but security has dominated the headlines this week. How will the increase in security alerts and terror alerts affect the election campaign that's coming up?
Well, we know we've got a heightened terror alert right across Australia. The Victoria Police are handling this matter on behalf of all Victorians, and we have great faith in Ken Lay and his team. We're also working very hard across our diverse multicultural community to say to people we need to come together in these times of increased concern so that people work together to make our community safe and strong.
But specifically about the election, have you spoken to Victoria Police and AFP about potential plans for not only the campaign but also polling day?
They're matters for Victoria Police. They're dealing with issues like the grand final, like the Melbourne show, like the Spring Racing Carnival, other major events, including the election. They'll be considering that matter, discussing it with the Victoria Electoral Commission so that we make sure that the safety and security of Victorians is paramount. And I can say that Victoria is a safe place by world standards and people should go about their business in a calm and usual manner.
Would you expect that there would be additional personal security for yourself and Daniel Andrews during the campaign?
Well, I'm advised on these matters by the Victoria Police and the Chief Commissioner, and they make adjustments as necessary to personal security for myself and for the Leader of the Opposition and other relevant people in Victoria.
What about on polling day? I mean, it's one thing to obviously provide screening for people going to a football game, but when you've got polling booths that are all over the state and hundreds of them, it's another matter altogether. Would you expect that there'd be increased security on election day?
I think Victoria Police will discuss that with the Victorian Electoral Commission, but I think in overall Victoria is a safe place. We need to understand that and go about our business. And certainly I'll be going about my business on election day in my electorate of South West Coast, going around the booths and encouraging people to vote for Denis Napthine and the Liberal Party.
Oh, no surprise there. Just on the campaign, we saw Brian Costa from Swinburne University say that he didn't believe that the government deserved to lose, but not only he, that all three election analysts that were in that story said that you probably will lose. How has it got to this stage? You're on the brink of being the first Victorian government in nearly 60 years to be voted out after a first term in office.
Well, there's only one poll that counts, Guy, and we all know that. And we know there's going to be a tough and tight election. It was in 2010, it will be in 2014. And we as the Liberal National Party coalition will be knocking on every door, visiting every street, going to every event, convincing people that we do have a positive plan for the future of our great state, to run a solid budget, to fund the services our growing population needs and to build the infrastructure our population demands into the future.
But history says your polling shouldn't be at this point where it is at the moment anyway. So what has happened? What's gone wrong that's led you to this point?
Well, we know that Victoria is always a tough and tight election and we'll be fighting for every vote. But we have a real plan for Victoria, a plan about growing jobs, growing opportunities, building the services we need, the infrastructure we need, compared to 11 years of Labor where they failed to deliver for the people of Victoria. They delivered D-Cell, the Mikey mess, they delivered the North-South pipeline. They failed to deliver the infrastructure and services our population needed and deserved.
You've had to deal with Jeff Shaw, internal campaigns against Ted Baillieu and Mary Wooldridge, consistent speculation about possible reforms to abortion laws. Have there been elements within the Liberal Party that have actually undermined your own electoral chances?
We're a united team with the National Party putting forward a positive program for the people of Victoria, a program about record funding in health, record funding in education, 1,700 extra police, PSOs on our railway stations, a safer community, a stronger community, and a record funding for infrastructure for the future of the growing population here in Victoria.
But Victoria is a progressive electorate, and it appears that there are elements within the Liberal Party that have unwittingly undermined your own electoral chances.
Well, Victoria is a progressive electorate, and that's why I think they'll vote for a Liberal national government who can actually deliver what people want. They want the infrastructure for a growing population. We've just had recent population statistics against Guy that show that our population is growing faster than the national average. That's why we need to invest in key infrastructure like the regional rail link, like the Melbourne rail link, the airport rail link, upgrading the Cranbourne-Pakenham rail corridor, fixing the problems on the Frankston line, investing in public transport, investing in roads, investing in infrastructure that decongests Melbourne, makes sure we are a livable city and creates 27,000 new jobs for our state.
You must be worried by the polling, though.
I'm about running this state of Victoria, building the services we need, the infrastructure we need.
And very soon you'll be focused on trying to win the next election.
Well, what we need to do is deliver what the people of Victoria need and want. The new hospitals they need, like the new Box Hill Hospital, like the Bendigo Hospital, the $1 billion comprehensive cancer centre, $500 million on new schools in growth suburbs, building schools, refurbishing schools, maintaining schools, making our community safe with additional police and PSOs on the railway stations, building the infrastructure we desperately need for a growing population, whether that's in Melbourne or regional and rural Victoria. That's what we're on about, providing good governance, leadership for the people of Victoria, and the votes will sort themselves out.
You say you're about trying to provide what the people of Victoria want. You didn't take the East-West link to an election last time. There was a significant push towards improving public transport services, which it appeared that the electorate was what the electorate actually wanted. Why should they vote for you now when you didn't take the East-West link to the election?
When you've got a growing population, you need to invest in both public transport services and in road infrastructure. And in public transport services, under a coalition government, there's now 10,000 additional extra tram, train and bus services each and every week. Punctuality and reliability is increased. Customer satisfaction's increased. We're investing in key projects like the regional rail link, like the Melbourne rail link, the airport rail link that we've waited 40 years for the airport rail link, upgrading the Pakenham-Cranbourne rail line, fixing the problems on the Frankston line.
But the question was about the East-West link. And on the East-West link, how much money is actually at stake if Labor rips up the contracts?
Well, if Labor rips up the contract, there's at least $3 billion down the drain, and that's an absolute tragedy. But it's even a great...
So you're saying even before the project starts, nearly half of the value of the contract would be lost. The public money would be wasted if Labor gets into office. Well, that seems incredible.
The Commonwealth Government has provided $3 billion for the East-West link. That'll be taken straight off the table if we don't build the East-West link. But the biggest tragedy will be the gridlock and congestion that's caused to Melbourne roads and to the people of Victoria. I use these roads regularly, and I know that when you're trying to get through Elliott Avenue, Alexandra Parade, it is absolute nightmare. And the people of Victoria want investment in these roads to decongest Melbourne, to improve transport productivity and efficiency, and to create over 6,200 jobs. And in the west of Melbourne, the number one project is wanting a second crossing, whether in Geelong, Ballarat, Wyndham or the western suburbs. They know that the Westgate Bridge is chock-a-block full. The Westgate Freeway is a nightmare, going back to Laverton and Werribee each and every morning, and we desperately need that second crossing, and only a coalition government building the East-West link will fix that problem.
You say that there's at least $3 billion at stake here. If there's so much public money at stake, isn't it incumbent on you to delay signing these contracts?
Well, we announced the first stage of the East-West link in the budget in May last year, and we set out a schedule to implement that plan.
A very politically convenient schedule that would have work starting basically just before the next election.
We have stuck to that schedule, and we've got to remember, Guy, that this wasn't an original concept of ours. This was originally conceived by Sir Rod Eddington and Transport Exports in 2008. 2008, Sir Rod Eddington said we needed the East-West link, and John Brumby, the then Premier, embraced that project.
I still don't know why you can't delay the signing of these contracts by 8-9 weeks.
The people of Victoria want us to get on with the job. They've waited since 2008.
The people of Victoria wanted a metro rail tunnel, but that got pushed aside as well.
Well, we're delivering both, Guy. We're delivering both.
But clearly you had a mandate on public transport, and East-West link has leapt ahead in terms of the priorities.
Guy, let me answer the question, because we can do both. That's what is in our budget as of this year. We're building the East-West link, stage 1 and stage 2 with our vital second river crossing. We're providing more public transport, plus investing in key infrastructure projects like regional rail, like the Cranbourne-Pakenham rail upgrade, like the Melbourne Rail Link, like the Airport Rail Link, all delivered under a coalition government. We are delivering investments in both rail and road, public transport and road.
Will
We're
those
delivering
contracts
both.
be signed next week?
Well, we're delivering the contracts as they come due. We are signing the contracts that are necessary to build the infrastructure Melbourne and Victoria needs to make sure we deal with the population growth. Because if you don't sign these contracts, you're condemning Melbourne and Victoria to year after year, decade after decade of congestion and gridlock, which will absolutely wreck our economy.
There are reports that suggest that there would be a $500 million kill clause in the contract. Surely that would be financially irresponsible to sign up to that, knowing that the Labor Party is saying that they won't honour these contracts.
What is financially irresponsible is to not honour contracts. That is financially irresponsible. When we came to government...
But you'd be hanging a millstone around the neck.
We would have loved to tear up the diesel contract signed by the previous Labor government. Signed, costing Melburnians $2 million a day and not one drop of water delivered. We'd have loved to have torn up the Mikey contract.
Will there be a massive kill clause in this contract?
We as a government...
It's a pretty simple question. Will there be a massive kill clause in this contract that Victorian taxpayers will need to pay if Labor wins the election?
The responsible thing to do is honour contracts. Bill Shorten says that.
That's a pretty simple question. Will there be a massive kill clause in this contract?
In many contracts that people sign, whether it's your telephone, a contract for your mobile phone, or whether it's a contract to build your house, there are breaches of contract penalties. And these are things standard in most contracts. And what we need is to get on and build this project, because the biggest penalty...
Will it be anything like $500 million?
The biggest penalty is to Victorians who are trying to go about their business, whether you're a tradie trying to get to fix a hot water service, whether you're somebody trying to get to work early or somebody trying to get home to be with your family. That is the biggest penalty of not delivering the East-West Link. Decade after decade of congestion, gridlock and chaos on our roads.
Do you think you'd be facing such electoral difficulty in the polls if you'd actually prioritised Metro Rail over the East-West Link?
Well, Guy, as I've said, we're doing both. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. We're building the road infrastructure we need. At the same time, we're investing in rail. 10,000 additional public transport services. The regional rail project, which was an absolute dog of a project under Labor, won the Australian Project of the Year under a coalition. It's ahead of schedule and under budget. We've built the Box Hill Hospital ahead of schedule, under budget, an additional floor, an additional 100 beds. The difference is a coalition government knows how to manage money, knows how to manage contracts, and we can deliver both road projects and public transport projects, more services, more punctual services, safer services, more reliable services, and the rail infrastructure to grow with the Melbourne's growth of population.
Now, the business case for the East-West Link is largely shrouded in secrecy. There are also concerns at the moment that the public won't have access to the latest crime statistics, ambulance response times, CFA response times. Surely, in a functioning democracy, voters had the right to know this information
and that's why
prior to the election.
And that's why in the East-West Link we've released over 2,000 pages in the comprehensive impact study.
Well, what about the CFA response times? What about the ambulance response times?
Well, again, with respect to ambulances, we've released more information than any previous government, including when Daniel Andrews was Minister of Health. We're releasing information on real time. You can look at it on the internet now for hospital early warning systems, for patient transfer, for outcomes for stroke and cardiac.
We're nearly out of time, sorry, Premier. We're mentioning ambulances. When you first came to power, you managed to cut a deal on the teachers' pay dispute. How close are we with the ambulance pay dispute? It's been dragging on now for a very long time.
We're very pleased as a government that we did an EBA agreement with the teachers, with the nurses, with the police, because when you have a reasonable union leadership, you can do these arrangements that are in the best interest. We've offered 6%.
Sorry, we're out of time, Premier. Will you cut a deal before the election?
6% pay rise now, 3%, $3,000 sign-on bonus. A great deal for our ambulance officers who are great people doing a great job.
We're out of time. Thank you very much.
Thank you much, Guy.
For attending, Premier.